So everybody, thank you for joining us on this Saturday afternoon. We have a really good episode for everybody here. A good friend of mine who I call him a good friend. We've met a few times, but we're Marines. So when you're a Marine, you're a brother. So I really don't have to explain all of that to all the Marines here. Alex is our co-host. Him and I are going to be co-hosting this. Alex, please, a little introduction from yourself, just so everybody is a little bit more familiar with who you are.
Sure. My name's Alex Compost. I'm Marine Corps infantryman, was in 29 Palms, deployed to Afghanistan in 2011, got out and was fighting my own demons, looking for ways to get out of that. Was prescribed all these types of medicines and came across psychedelics. And that kind of removed pharmaceuticals from my life and allowed me to take my life back. So I've definitely reoriented myself to kind of tracking down how that's possible and how to make something possible like that for other people that are suffering through stuff like PTSD. So that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, a bit similar to you. I think, when I got out of the Marine Corps, it was just a transitional debacle, trying to figure stuff out. About 5 years ago, if you would have told me that I'd be doing all this stuff and, working on everything that I'm doing with psychedelics, I would have been like, dude, you're freaking crazy. There's no way in hell. I smoked marijuana like a handful of times in my life, and drugs have always scared me. But finding psychedelics really opened up my mind and my heart to a whole new realm of possibilities, and my life is a lot better for it. So thank you, Alex, for that. And now we're gonna kick it off to Matthew. Matthew is a Las Vegas native here, and he's got his own business, and he's also an author. I won't give you all of his introductions. I'll let him kind of kick it off and let us know a little bit more about who he is.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Certified, everybody. Yeah, so I was a military brat, moved around pretty much until I was 12 years old. So, I lived everywhere from Cincinnati, Ohio to Seoul, Korea. And yeah, my dad retired here. He was in the Army. And then I went to high school at Chaparral, if you're Las Vegas locals, Chaparral, middle school, Helen C. Cannon. Yeah, I got out of that. It's kind of lost in the sauce. Didn't know what I was going to do. Was a young man. I wasn't going to school, or school wasn't cutting it for me. So I decided to join the Marine Corps. And I don't know what made me join the Marine Corps. My dad was in the Army. My granddad was in the Army. I have a long lineage of people being in the military, but I didn't know any Marines. And I was like, you know what? I'm a prove a point. I'm gonna go to the hardest, most motivated branch. And yeah, bam, I was in the belly of the beast. Like, it was a whole nother animal. I didn't even know. Yeah, I was Motor T. I went to Iraq in summer of 07 and winter of 09. I went under Bush and Obama. And my second tour was more retrograding. I was heavy platoon, so we were just pretty much outside the wire, doing all types of logistics for all the FOBs, so it'd be water, we're dropping off mail, or we're taking a deceased or injured, or, just that was my job. And it was every day. Like, there was no days off. And yeah, just trying not to die, trying to stay vigilant, staying focused. There's that saying that you're going to either laugh or cry, or you got a choice. Like, you either laugh or cry. There's a lot of scenarios where I wanted to cry, but I was like, you know what? We just gonna giggle it up. We just gonna LOL, and cry about it later. And so when I came back the first time, I just felt it was even hard to cry about it, to even like figure out what the hell just happened. And it was so much that I couldn't be a civilian, if that even makes sense. It was always like, the standard shit, like looking, where's my rifle at? Can't sleep because I'm like, think somebody's gonna come get me. I'm driving in the middle of the road, any type of fucking debris. I'm like, oh shit, in my head, I wasn't fooling any of my family, when I came back. Everybody knew, like, I couldn't trick them. Like, shit was fucked up. So I volunteered to go back because I was like, I can't handle, civilian world. And especially as or if you go to war as a young person, you're operating at a higher level you didn't even know you could, honestly, for real. So like I said, it's all day, every day, and you're doing a lot of stuff that is gonna have residual impacts, and you're using a lot of expensive equipment. It's a trip in itself. Yeah, so I volunteered to go back, and I went back, and like halfway through that deployment, I kind of knew, like, all right, I don't want to keep on going to these deployments. I'm not trying to be a lifer, so I gotta when I get back, if I do make it back, I'm gonna really focus on not being so, combat ready. I was open to everything. I just was super skeptic about like big farm, pharmaceutical drugs and stuff. Cause, my history of like, you know, being Black in America, like my mom went to an HBCU, Jackson State. My dad, he was an officer in the Army. He was a major. So like being Black was like serious, it's not even a joke. So like looking at big pharma as a crutch was like already a red flag. You know what I mean? And so we would look more towards. So that led me more towards like I don't know what you want to call it, organic or ways of dealing with issues, healing. So boom, yeah, I came back, I made it back, and I immediately started getting into like the white belt stuff, like the breathing techniques, the fasting, the yoga, not even like crazy yoga like sauna yoga, but just like, focusing on poses and whatnot. Yeah, then here comes the psychedelics, and I was already a cannabis smoker in high school, but the relationship was different. My relationship with weed in high school was just for shits and giggles. You know what I'm saying? But my intent turned with cannabis when I came back, where I use it more as like a medicine, more of it's like a vitamin. So I started using psychedelics with intent, and mushrooms was the first one. That was, I started light, started with the little microdosing, getting the giggles, the head change. And then I started taking like an eighth in the forest, or with one other person. And then I started taking like heroic doses, whatever they call it, but like 12, 14 grams on an empty stomach, and then go out into the forest and figure it out. You feel me?
Yeah.
Side note, I think just like the Marine Corps, like they give us all these tools, to use, and they're all effective. And we don't really get the tools to exercise and, I don't know, make our spirit stronger, like, and you could take spirit however you want, but that energy, that vibe, that, I don't know what you want to call it, but psychedelics is definitely like that tool to help you exercise that. Just like you go to the gym and work out to get big muscles, I'll be tripping to get spiritually flexing on people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. And it's working. I got a lot of psychedelics, give me a lot of tools to use in situations where I can't always be the monk Matt, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, I'm in a sticky situation and I want to wile out and be that devil dog hard charger. Anyway, so yeah, so mushrooms and the fasting and the breathing techniques, and then I started like the cold plunges. We listened to like binaural beats. You do like some guided meditation kind of stuff. I would do these ceremonies twice, 3 times a year. It was like a good shot, like a cleanse that I need. And then 2017, I got an opportunity to drink ayahuasca at this place called Soul Quest in Orlando. They're super legit. They're super westernized, like super legit. They're like a 501(c)(3), like they got all their paperwork. They got a doc. It's not like you're going to Ecuador or Peru or something like that. Like they got doctors on site. They're taking blood pressures. They're doing the whole Western, I don't know, paperwork, admin. Like I bet you if you go into the jungle, nobody's talking about serotonin and dopamine and when's the last time you took antidepressants or something like that? But here in America, they got all the checks in the box. They got their shit right. They got their setting good too, because they got live music. It's just westernized, you know what I'm saying? But I love that place. Soul Quest is legit, man. It's one of my, if you're ever thinking about drinking ayahuasca, I would recommend it because they help you out. But yeah, so I drank that juice and that shit just, it was like it just complemented everything else that I was already experiencing and gave me some like affirmation, or I don't know, just kind of like put the stamp on it, like, yeah, bro, that you're doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the type of medicine or spiritual gym you need to be entertaining if you're trying to be your highest self. I know it sounds corny, but for real, it's the truth. If you're trying to be your best self, it takes work, and some of that work might be not eating for 24 hours. You feel me? It might just say, you know what, I need to do a meditation for 20 minutes and like be gentle to myself, like stop beating myself up, making it, harder, fundamental stuff like that, man. Yeah, I really appreciate my journey. And I'm so happy that psychedelics came into my life because it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code for sure.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I'd call it a cheat code because, man, I've been flipped upside down. I've been in the belly of the beast, and it sure shit didn't feel like a cheat code. But I understand totally what you're saying, man. Hey, I gotta ask you. You talked about organic ways of healing growing up with your parents and stuff like that in big pharma. When I grew up, and still to this day, even more so now, we use a lot of plants to do certain things. Like my mom has a wide knowledge of some of the usage of certain plants that we can use for anything from like a stomach ache and stuff like that. So she's always making teas and all of that. I remember I was very young when my grandmother died, but my mom tells me how much she used plants for everything because so I'm from Mexico, right? And on my mom's side, we were very, very poor, very poor. So they would use plants from the garden that they would plant or just from their surroundings. And my grandma had to learn how to use some of those plants just for healing of any type of ailment that you might have. Is that kind of what you were talking about a little bit, or is it different? Because I know that it's with big pharma here in the US, it's just so complex because it's so easy to get a bottle of whatever that you need prescribed and then just go that route. And it's a lot harder to look at plants, study them, and then use those medicinally too. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, my upbringing, my grandfather, he told me to my face that he ate everything. I mean, they grew everything they ate. They grew up on
Wow.
a farm. So like already that's like the change of how my dad and my mom treated us. So with that being said, like if we had a headache, it'd be like, well, did you drink water? Are you hydrated? You ain't, you know what I'm saying? You don't need no Tylenol or Advil. Like, no, did you drink
Yeah.
water? Or like just even going to eat processed foods like McDonald's was a big deal because my mom's always cooking, you know what I'm saying, whipping something up, and she's going to the farmers markets, getting some local fresh stuff. Um, but yeah, so we didn't really focus, I don't want to say focus, but we didn't really lean on, the big institutions like that, especially when it came to health and wellness. You know what I mean? Because like I said, the history is just like, it just, for my culture, it's sketch. You know what I'm saying? We always like, well, hold on now, but it
Yeah.
wasn't, it wasn't like we weren't gonna, get antibiotics or, what I'm saying, go to the doctor for a broken bone or something, So, but yeah, it was more organic or regular, like I said, my granddad, like that's how my granddad grew. All my grandparents had yards with gardens and trees. Like it wasn't even like a thing. It was like, this is what we do. You feel me? My wife's Mexican, like making homemade tortillas,
Yeah.
homemade salsa. Like that's just what they're doing. Nobody's like going to the grocery store for everything. The grocery store might complement what you're already cultivating in your backyard, or, you know. So yeah, that's the kind of lifestyle that it was.
That's cool. That's really cool. I think that's really foreign to a lot of us because it's so easy just to go down to the grocery store and pick up what you need, basil and like all of these different things. But it's a different world to grow all of your food and go to your backyard and pick it. We in no means do we have like a full garden or anything, but we have cilantro, basil, a couple of different things, lemons, limes, stuff like that. So you can taste the difference when you use those. But it's difficult too because you need to take a lot of time throughout the week to make sure that they're being watered and everything. So it can be a little bit difficult, but I think at the end of the day, it's very worthwhile if you make that time to do so for
Yeah,
sure.
eating fresh food, man. I mean, if you're like, I mean, you don't have to grow all your food in your backyard, have a chicken coop and a bison and, you know what I'm saying, all that in your backyard. but you could take a little bit of pressure off of the supply chain and be a little bit more independent. And again, with the fresh, like a lot of our produce, we live in the desert. A lot of our produce ain't grown here. You know, it's harvested like 3-5 days. So by the time it even gets to the grocery store, the shelf life, you know, is shortened, and it's not as nutrient dense as it was if you had some like local stuff, or you harvest that shit right in your backyard or your windowsill. You know what I mean? It's just everybody can grow something, you know. Just do your best. If you can't have 3 raised grow beds and 3 fruit trees, okay, but you know, you can have like a little pot in your windowsill with some you know, mint or something. I mean, case in point, you can have an aloe plant, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can even have some plants in your house. That's going to filter out the air. I mean, my relationship with plants is a little different from a lot of people's, but I feel like I work for the plants. A lot of people work for the plants. Even the things we eat, you know, I love bison, but they're eating all plants. You know, our structure, our material is all plants. You know, we're talking about psychedelics come from plant. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a plant life, and I don't know. That's where I get majority of my wisdom. And no disrespect to all the gurus, all the people that are well read and super smart, you know, but at the end of the day, for me, they're still human, and we're all domesticated, you know, accordingly. But when I go out to my garden, you know, my plums aren't looking at the mustard greens like, man, I wish I could be the mustard greens. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're doing their best. They're leading by example. They're showing me like, yo, Matt, don't worry about nobody else. Just, you know, establish your roots and grow your fruit, baby.
Yeah. Let's stay there for a little bit, man, because recently, within the last 2 years, I've learned to just really start developing a relationship with plants. That's kind of what you're talking about, because I think that for me, like when you talk about going outside and getting a lot of the wisdom from plants, I get that 100%. And sometimes I say that to people and they're like, what are you talking about? And so I think it's a good opportunity to just kind of sit there and or sit here and talk about what that really means. Because I'll give you an example. I came back from a trip that I did, and where I started learning how to really listen to the environment around me as far as nature, right? And I was really able to tune into certain things. At one point, my kid was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Because she's very inquisitive, and we were outside in my backyard, and I just let her know, I'm like, "Hey, I'm just trying to listen to these plants here next to us," and she was 13 at the time, 13 or 14, so she was like, "What the hell is Dad talking about now?" And so we just sat there, and I'm like, all right, just sit here and try to receive anything from anything that you might think. It could be an observation that you have, or just anything, you know, just sit there and listen and try to observe, or close your eyes and try to observe. And that's such a foreign concept to us here in the United States, but it's such a natural thing in other indigenous communities and other communities. They don't even have to be indigenous. I mean, anywhere around the world, a lot of people do this, you know, and even a lot of societies have gotten a lot of wisdom just from observing plants, right? What they do to survive. And then we've kind of transformed it into everyday life and all of that type of stuff, you know? And I find it really fascinating to pay attention. And sometimes it can be a little, I don't want to say, I don't know if there's a word for this, because I don't want to say scary, but you know, sometimes you get this download just by sitting next to a plant and listening to what's going on around you. And all of the times that I've done that, it's come out to have some substance that is real, that I can use in everyday life, you know, some type of message that it's like you said, that plum is letting you know, like, hey, dude, just do you, you know, and some of those things that are just so foreign to us here in the United States, man. So thanks for sharing that. Like, what is your practice with plants as far as like getting some of those wisdoms that you talked about?
I go into my garden every day, and I don't even got to do anything, but I'm gonna go sit down and just, you know, not even download. Like sometimes I'm not even learning anything, but just being content. Just being content feels good. You know, just feeling like, all right, It's going to be a good day. Something spectacular is going to happen, and I'm open to my blessings. So let's do this. Let's get this day done. Or sometimes I'm there and I'm looking at my, some of my plants, and I'm like, man, the peppers should be coming right now. And then ding, my head's like, bro, stand, like, patience. You know what I'm saying? Like, chill. You know what I'm saying? The fruit will come when the fruit comes, and that correlates directly to life. Like, man, you need to just chill. Like, you're going to achieve everything you want. You're going to get everything you want through discipline and work, but making it like, am I getting it? Is it it? What's it called? Focusing on the goal, the end, instead of not the journey type of thing, But yeah, so that's one practice. Another practice is I do eat a lot of vegetables and like leafy greens and fruits. I like to fast until noon. I like to break that with a fruit, so that's a really good practice that I use. I'm not like a vegan or nothing like that. I just feel better when I do that. I have a grip of plants in my house, a grip of plants. I mean, it's not even a game. This shit looks like a Jumanji scenario. But for real, man, it gives me comfort. It really does. Like the plants, just that vibrant green. I read somewhere that like scientifically, all the eggheads saying that just plants in general raise your serotonin levels. You don't gotta tell me anything else. I'm about to have an aloe wall, Yeah, so I got a lot of plants, and my business is working with plants. I grow microgreens for Las Vegas. That's a practice in itself,
Yeah.
And then practicing with the plants medicines, like I'm always learning more about all types of plant medicines. Like, or you guys in Portland, you guys got a good cannabis industry, weed industry. Well, down here in Vegas, man, we got a pretty like legit quality controlled industry where like you can go to a dispensary and learn about terpenes and cannabinoids and really dive into weed, I wrote a book about weed. It's called Enjoy the Harvest, A Simple Guide to Cannabis Consumption. Man, I don't know. I have a lot of practices with plants, so I don't really have a favorite one. They all do a different service at different times, but they're going to be in my life for forever.
You clearly have had a connection with plants and being very deliberate with what you put in your body since you were younger. Is that what your business that you've made is kind of trying to share with other people and getting them started and do that? Because I thought I saw like a link to like kits for Black Market Veggies. Is that what you're doing? You're trying to get more people to take it upon themselves to, for example, growing their own mushrooms. It's like that's horticulture, correct? Because it's like you're growing your own medicine / food. Is that what your mission for the Black Market Veggies is, to get people to take it upon themselves to be very deliberate what they put into their own body?
Well, I mean, that was like one of the fruits that just came up from what I started this business. But just to kind of backtrack with plant medicines, there's a ceremony that I had, ayahuasca, and basically at the end of the ceremony, she told me, or I remembered, or whatever you want to call, that I don't have to know everything. Like, not knowing is the best part about life. If you're watching a movie and someone was just telling you the movie every part before, you're like, dude, shut up, I'm trying to watch a movie. You're spoiling it for me. So with your question, Alex, I didn't have any intent with making grow kits. I didn't have any intent of helping people like eat better. My intent was I wanted to work with the plants, period. And that's where I started. I was like, all right, how can I do this? And 2015, I worked in the cultivation arena with medical marijuana until 2017. So that's where I got my apprenticeship, how to learn how to farm, how to do urban farming. And then with the microgreens business, I was just trying to, like I said, work with the plants. And microgreens, you could do it vertically. You could do hydroponically. You don't need a lot of space, and you can have multiple harvests if you stack it correctly. So I was like, that's all I needed to hear. Everything else, from the grow kits to, meeting people that are raw vegans. I know you haven't heard of these people, but I meet raw vegans. And like I said, I made the grow kits was all from the community telling me like, yo, you should make some grow kits. And I'm like, okay, copy that. Go back to my lab, and I figure it out, and then people like, hey, you need to start growing cantaloupe or sunflowers. Copy that, So with this business, I'm just open-hearted. I'm just coming with an open heart. I'm coming authentic. I'm having fun with it, most importantly. And I'm gonna start small and grow big. So, if we end up growing fully grown leafy greens, then I'm gonna do that shit. But right now, this is where we're at. And we got grow kits. And you know what I'm saying? And if you want to grow, I can help you. But if not, it's all, you can come enjoy our harvest, Yeah, man. Again, with what I said before, I don't know. And that I like it like that. It feels good.
You just said two things that were really important that, as I was talking about how foreign some of this stuff is in the Western world, I went into trying to go into the plant world and trying to understand it. And you said that sometimes it's just about going out there and not expecting to get any downloads. You also said that not knowing is the best part about life. And I think that's really worthwhile to just sit and think about that for a second, because you're right. We're always searching for stuff or for downloads or for this or for that. And sometimes it's just about just sitting down and being patient and not expecting any of that stuff, and not chasing anything. That's for my journey. That's been very evident, is not chasing anything. I mean, a lot of people always say, hey, I got this plant medicine, or I got this thing, or I got that thing, or, have you ever tried, all of these are like whatever it is. And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I want to try it all. But it's really taught me to just sit down and not chase anything, be comfortable with where I'm at, not chase experiences, do one experience and just completely download or understand and process without having to chase another one and all of that. Because it can be, we can go down that direction. It's so easy to just be like, all right, I had one ayahuasca ceremony or experience, and now I want to try combo. And then, next week I want to do mushrooms. And then next week I want to do LSD. And like, you're chasing all these experiences without really just sitting down and just taking it easy and being patient, like you said. So thanks for sharing that, because I think it's really important to just understand that concept. Because we chase stuff, at least I did that in the past. I chase stuff all the time. Like, this is what I want. This is what I want. I'm going after it. And sometimes just sitting down and not chasing stuff, you receive a lot by just being patient, for sure.
That's that first world mindset though. Like I love, America, for real. This is my country.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going nowhere. But at the end of the day, you're not working hard enough, you gotta do. I mean, it's really intense, That's not healthy if you're trying to be vibrant, and live like a fulfilling life,
Yeah.
Like that shit it's like the carrot at the end of the stick, just chasing. And I don't know what I don't know what we're here on earth to do, but I know that right there ain't the business, And talking about the psychedelics too, like I feel like a lot of people, just to piggyback off what you're saying about chasing, when you go into those realms and you get experience and meet and speak and do all that shit with, in that different layer of reality. And then when you come back, it's hard to digest, man. But majority of the time you get assignments to do. You get homework, you know what I'm saying, to do. So you come back from those trips and you're like, all right, I gotta start being nicer. You know what I'm saying? I gotta stop being a dick or stop being grudgy, or and you gotta work on that stuff, and then instead of saying, all right, I'm gonna go back in, it's like, all right, man, just like working out, you're not gonna gain muscle by just lifting all the time. You gotta rest to gain the muscle. You gotta recover. But doing the work is it comes with the psychedelics, and it feels like a lot of people put that mentality, that first world mentality, into psychedelics. Like, I'm just gonna do all the psychedelics now. It's like, no, man. How about find one and then play with it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta, make that tool work for you. Yeah, but I don't know, man. If you want to do all psychedelics, do them. You know what I'm saying? That's not my shit. Shit, that's hard work, bro. I mean, if anybody's ever had, a trip, that stuff is like, man, the ego death. I mean, all that. It's not all rainbows and glitter and love. That shit. Nah, bro.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work.
It's that work,
Hard
man.
work, for sure. And talking about that homework, man, it's so real. I remember one experience I had where I got this message of something that I had to do. And, the next day I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get after it. And, one day passed, another day passed, month passed, all of that, never got to it. A couple months later, I did another psychedelic experience. And sure enough, it was like, you didn't do your homework, did you? And slapped me in the face. So that stuff is real.
It is, man. I'm telling you, it really is like you go to this place and I don't want to plant no seeds in anybody's head, and if they haven't taken any psychedelics, but for me, it feels like a temple that I go to, like a dojo or something, and I get to speak to these like infinite teachers that got all the wisdom, but they're not teaching me. They're just like, yo, remember, bro. So, you're not getting I don't know. You're getting too domesticated down there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You gotta be, you. So and it takes work for real, especially living in a city. I always tell people, like, a monk could live in a cave and that's easy money. But try to be a monk out here in traffic and you got bills and you got kids and you got a wife, you know what I'm saying? It's a different animal. You gotta do the work, is what I'm saying.
For sure. So you talked about your book. There's another book that you mentioned, another Pogue story.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I wrote this book. I wasn't gonna write it, but I was going through it, with my counselor. She just kept on telling me, like, you need to go talk to other veterans and you're doing such a good job. You're doing blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not that guy to like go in the room and tell everybody, Semper Fi, hoorah, I'm a devil dog. I'm not that dude. And I'm not, no disrespect to anybody that's like that, but that was a part of my life that's contributing to my life, but it's not the whole story. You feel me? It's a chapter in that bitch. Yeah, she's like, you gotta do something. She's like challenging me, like, you better do something. I'm like, you know what? Oh, and she said this. She's like, it's not about you. It's about your people. So I was like, you know what? That's a good point, man. So I sat my ass down. I wrote that book, and it's just my memoir about my time in the Marine Corps at a time of war, and doing that whole motivated stuff. And like, I was a super pogue too. Like, I don't even play around. People were like, oh, I was a pogue. Like, no, you weren't a pogue. I was reservist and I was motor T. Okay. So like, when they said you got to go to war, I was like, oh shit, I fucked up. I fucked up. I joined the wrong animal, and now it's about to get super real. And it did, man. But yeah, I made it back and it's all good. But yeah, I wrote that book and it's on Amazon. It's an easy read. It's like 100 pages. There's some boot camp stories. If you're in the Marine Corps, you'll probably laugh. There's a lot of like Marine Corps jargon, a lot of F-bombs being dropped. But I don't know, man. It's just my story, and if it helps somebody out, it helps them out. But if you get entertained, you get entertained. But for me, it like exercised that whole, buildup that I had in me, sitting down and putting my thoughts on paper and my experiences on paper. So
now, was that when you wrote that book? Was that pre-psychedelic experience or post?
It wasn't in the thick of things. It wasn't in like the 14 grams on empty stomach, but it was along the lines of like my cold plunges, my mushrooms, and my breathing techniques. Yeah, I was really into breathing for a long. I mean, I still am. Every human is into breathing. We have to. But you feel me, like going into like holotropic breathing, pranayama breathing, fire breathing, box breathe, like all those techniques. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was into when I wrote that book.
I remember one time when we linked up, I think it was at one of the comedy events that we went to, and we were entering and had just done a cold plunge with Damon, and you told me, you asked me a little bit about it and what my experience was like, and I thought a little bit about it, and then it's always been on my mind because that question just really opened up this idea that I then really started to really understand, and that was the fact that one thing about the cold plunge for me was that I used to have a lot of really negative talk in my mind when something got really hard. And then that cold plunge, I switched it into very positive talk about myself and who I am and all these other things. And like, like motivational talk in my mind of, yeah, you can do it, Bruno. Don't worry about it. It's cold, it sucks, but don't worry about it. Just get in there. It's gonna be all right. You're not gonna die. Like all these different things, instead of like, stop being a little bitch, get in there. Like embrace the suck, all of that other stuff. So I switched that thinking into more positive, and I've learned a lot about just that aspect of it, just from your question alone. So I wanted to mention that to you because you asked me that and I didn't know how to answer, and this was like 2.5, 3 years ago or something like that. So I wanted to mention that sometimes you plant seeds in people, these questions, and you're not really there to see them flourish, or you don't even understand that they even flourish too. So when you talk about writing a book, and if it helps somebody out, who knows? You're not gonna be able to see the shade that people enjoy after something, and that's really important to kind of understand too. One of the things that I've learned about psychedelics is that. I know you mentioned a lot about the Black Market Veggies, man, but tell me a little bit more about how that came to be. And I mean, you mentioned a lot of things about it, but through your psychedelic experiences, man, did that have anything to do with the business that you've created and wanting to bring this in the community and the grow kits and all of that stuff?
Man, great question. And I'm about to knock this one out the park, bro. For real. So good one. But yeah, so 2015, I was working with cannabis, and I already knew, like, man, I love this shit. Like, I love working with plants. My first time being a horticulture technician. And I got out of that situation or that job 2017, and I was in limbo, So I did so in 2017, at the end, I drank ayahuasca for my first time. All right. Well, I did my first ceremony, again, with the whole, I don't know, this is what the download was. Okay. And the download was, you like working with plants. Why don't you keep on doing it and help? And not to get too crazy, she was talking talking about my family, like help my family out. But she's referring to the plants, I'm like, all right, shit. Well, you know what? I'm gonna start working with the plants. And then that's all I needed. And I've been doing the work, and I just got on the internet. Like I said, I didn't have no backing. I don't come from money. I don't have land. So I had to bootstrap this shit. I'm like, all right, what can we do where I can make my profession, using, working with plants? I don't care if I got a nursery and I just grow pineapples, or, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm helping people make raised grow beds, or I'm growing food. 2017, I got that message, and I was like, all right, so I started with cannabis. All right, I started trying to be like a cannabis consultant and tell people about, just all types of stuff about cannabis. Like, you just don't have to smoke it. You can rub it on yourself. There's some, just the whole stuff, just to help people get over that learning curve. And it wasn't paying the mortgage. I got kids. So I was like, all right, I can't be doing this. I'm a grown ass man. I got bills. So did my due diligence, and boom, I stumbled upon microgreens. And I was like, oh, this is like a thing, and people use it as garnishes, they juice it, they put it on wraps. The nutritional value is 40% more dense in microgreens than it is in fully grown vegetables. They call it the superfood. Like, it's a thing. All right. So I was like, all right, let me hop into this world. So I started doing my little test trials. I got a tent, and I just started chipping away. And yeah, man. And I just started doing the work, like I said, going to restaurants, meeting people, going to farmers markets, shaking hands and kissing babies. You feel me? But just doing that grunt work, just doing the work. It's nothing. It's not rocket science. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta start small and grow big. So that's what we're doing right now. And it's fun, man. It's good. And now that I'm growing microgreens, like I really like sprouts and microgreens. You know, I never grew up eating radish and broccoli and alfalfa and sweet pea, and you know, I never really ate that stuff, but now it's pretty much in every one of my dishes. You know, and on top of that, just on some health tip, I don't know if you guys ever heard about the microbiome. It's like a community of, you know, little bacteria and fungus that live on your skin, your mouth, and your gut, and they're like the first response for a lot of things. You know, they help your whole health and wellness. And when you feed your microbiome, you're gonna be like, you're fortifying yourself, you know, from being sick or being sad or having low energy. So like good food is a key part. So like kimchi and, you know, staying hydrated and microgreens and sprouts, you know. So I was like, all right, I'm all in, you know. So yeah, the health and wellness, I get to work with plants. It's already a thing. Like everything was green light. Everything I was finding. So that's how the cookie crumbles, man. That's
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
from. But dude, the gut is like responsible. Like the mind body thing is a real thing. You know, like
Yeah.
it really is, man. Like a lot of your happy chemicals are in your stomach. Yeah, if you want to get crazy, just Google microbiome, and you're gonna have a whole bunch of YouTubing and Googling to do, because it gets intense, man. It really is like we are us, but we're not really us. You know what I'm saying? We're like a community of super small, you know, that trippy stuff.
Yeah. Like that old saying, you are what you eat, for real. That's a real thing.
It is.
Um, you know, I really like how you talked about doing the work after a psychedelic experience, because I
Yeah.
think a lot of people go into a psychedelic experience thinking that it's going to like really restructure their brain and change everything. But in all actuality, like that, some of that is real, but I think a lot of it, for me, I'm talking about me personally, and it sounds like, you know, you've had some of that as well. Some of those experiences are just like you said, homework and doing the work. And so you come out of it on the other side, and there you have to figure it out. You know, it doesn't give you all the answers. Like some of these experiences, they just don't give you the answers. They just kind of put something out there, and you have to figure it out. And then you have to do the work. And the hard work is, you know, like starting your business, your small business, writing these books, like all these other things. And it's so easy to just kind of forget that. So thanks for reminding that aspect of it, because some people just want to chase that experience and think that it's going to like restructure their brain, you know. And that's it's very important to understand that that really doesn't happen. It there are some things that change, but you're not going to have like a whole different brain after
No.
you drink 2 cups of ayahuasca or something like that, you know. So because I do get some people that say that they expect that, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I
uh,
think doing the work is probably the hardest part about the psychedelic or the experience, because once you come back, you know, first you gotta remember all your thoughts, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you gotta integrate everything that you remembered, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it's again, with the whole psychedelic stuff, this shit ain't for the weak. Like if you
No.
are the person that always knows everything, you got it all figured out, you know, you never wrong. It's always everybody else's fault. You can't apologize. You're opening the door and expecting a thank you from everybody. Like you're just living in a whatever. That shit, stay over there, because like the psychedelic stuff, man, this shit is for the warriors, dude, for real. Cause that shit is like you're going to war almost, you know, with like your subconscious self, you know, like it just shows you've been doing things that you didn't think you were doing, or you've been domesticated you know, a certain way because your culture or family or whatever, you know, but that shit's not serving you no more. So you got to like shed that stuff, and that stuff's hard to shed, you know, especially when it's so deep rooted into your character, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, this shit ain't for the weak. I always tell people when they want to ask me about psychedelics and all that, I'm like, listen, I could tell you all the cool stuff, But I just want to let you know, like, this shit's hard. It's not even like if you want to take a microdose and go to festivals or something, that's cute. That's cool, you know. But if you really trying to do that work and be a better person, first you got to go into the dojo. You know, you got to grapple with yourself real quick. And those shadows, what they call, somebody told me it's called shadow work.
Yeah.
Like, that's the truth, bro. That's really shadow work.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, doing the work, I think that's just, you know, it's easy to not do it, but it's gonna make the trip way better, you know. Like I said, if you go into that dojo and you find out that you're actually being an asshole, you know, you're not motivating nothing, and then you're like, damn, I've been an asshole. So when you come back, guess what, Matt? Work on not being a dick. You know what I'm saying? For real. Be
Yeah.
nicer. And that includes not just other people. Like, be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know, and let that shit reverberate out.
I just came back from a trip in Ecuador with an indigenous community called the Cofanes, and there are about 1,500 people, and one of the things that they're known for is drinking yahe, which is their word for ayahuasca. It was about 30 of us, this program that I'm in, and at the end of it, the taitas, the medicine people, they after 10 days, they kind of sat us down and they were like, hey, we just want to let you guys know that we think, all of us think that you are warriors for coming down here and drinking yahe, because it is not easy. There's about 1,500 people in our tribe, and a lot of them do not want to drink yahe because it is scary. You go places, you get shown things, you see things, you feel things that are not easy about yourself, and those things about yourself are sometimes very harsh. So anybody that drinks a cup of yahe, in our eyes, is warriors. So yeah, man, that's very much the truth, and I think that's something that people need to realize and lean into, right? Because it is scary. I remember the second night I had of drinking yahe, I had a very scary experience. And I don't want to label it or judge it as scary, but I mean, for me, the only way that I can describe it is that, because my face was literally in the mud in the middle of the jungle. It was raining and I didn't want to move. I didn't have the energy to move. Like, all this, I don't even know where I was in my mind or physically or anything like that. And then the next day, when they were getting ready to hand out some more yahe, or the cup, I was a little hesitant, but I was like, I'm here to do the work, so let's go. And I did one cup the next day, and then I started kind of climbing it back up, and I ended up doing 4 cups the last day. But it was something where that one experience was like, okay, like, this is some real shit. Like, we're not here to like kumbaya, hold hands, play the drums, and any of that stuff. Like, my face might be in the mud again during the rain next to this fire pit, and like, I'm cold, and everything is strange, and I'm trying to figure out life. So yeah, for sure.
Bruno, how much cost for ayahuasca treatment?
It's like, you can go on the website SoulQuest. I think it's like $300 a weekend, or it's something like that. Like, no, it's 300. It's $300 a ceremony, I think it is. And their ceremonies, you drink 3 times. So like Friday night, Saturday in the morning, and Saturday night. And then you have integration between all those. Like, it's, when I say it's westernized, like, it's a lab. You know, you have integration. They got notes. They got all these, like I said, people that are super smart, and they're doctors and MDs, and But yeah, it's in Orlando, Florida.
So totally, how much cost for one trip?
300, yeah.
And that's Sunny. That's at SoulQuest. So it's a legal a place where you can go. It's a church. It's a church.
Church of Ayahuasca, SoulQuest, Orlando, Florida. I'm telling you, Google it. They were on Netflix. They were all, like, they're a big deal. When I first went there, they were nobody. I don't want to say nobody, but they didn't have all things they do now. But now, man, it's it's a thing, man. And it's awesome. Like I said, they're set and setting. They have all these people come and sing. And I mean, they got people that come from Central South America, and they sing like Icaros, or they'll sing like, all that ayahuasca music,
Does this include like a room to sleep and food?
Yeah, it includes food, and it's not really a room. Like, you could pay extra to get like a suite. It's more of like an open, like
Like a hostel?
like a Kwanzaa hut kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? You know,
It's an open bay, squad bay.
yeah, it's like a big tent, and they got a fire.
Yeah.
And yeah, they got all these volunteers. Like, I go volunteer too. That's another talk about the work is yeah, I go back there to volunteer and help people, change the throw up buckets and walk them to the bathroom. But I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, Florida, Orlando, Soul Quest, Church of Ayahuasca.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I dabbled with psychedelics roughly 5-6 years ago. I didn't respect it. And at one point in time, I had roughly a whole pound of shrooms for my friend. And I decided to do it for 5 days straight. And day number 4, nothing happened. I didn't feel anything, just nothing came about. And I took a decent amount. I was just grabbing handfuls and just popping them down. And day number 5, I told myself, I'm not going to do shrooms. I'm going to just stop, let my body just reset. And somebody came over and I was like, cool, awesome. Pop them in my mouth. Immediately start sweating profusely out of every single pore out of my body. I didn't know I could sweat out of my kneecaps, and I was sweating out of my kneecaps. Had just a super bad trip, and since then I haven't touched it, and I've been wanting to get back in it because I've had 9 strokes. I've had multiple just issues with the way that my brain works because of just injuries sustained. And I want to get back into it, but this is one of those things where it's like, should I get back into it? Like, how do I go about just dipping my toes back in? Because it's been six years or so. And that experience was just really shitty. So I've always just not done it ever since then. So what do you think I should do?
Well, I'm no doctor. I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not the psychedelic guru. If you feel like taking them, take them, man. Just be smart about it. Make sure you focus on your setting. Have like somebody, a trip. They call them trip sitters. Just like somebody that will be there, not talking to you, just shutting the fuck up, and making sure you don't jump, do something stupid. Yeah, I don't know, man. For real, if I was to tell you to do anything, I would say start like dabbling into some breath work. Like, take an hour and just do holotropic breathing, with some headphones on, and just go dumb, just go full retard, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, straight up, man. And you can open up a lot of those same dojos and, layers of reality just with that. It just takes longer, and it's a little bit harder. It takes more energy rather than just popping something in your mouth. You feel me?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I would say if you feel like doing it, be smart about it, be safe about it. But I would start with just messing with your breath, man.
Yeah, if I may chime in as well for that question, couple things that I wanted to recommend you try if your intention is to reapply mushrooms or anything like that into your life with the deliberate intent to being introspective and to work on yourself, which these are a great tool. And for all the other Marines in here, it's like one of the leadership traits that has continued to stick with me to this day, especially when using psychedelics, is know yourself and seek self-improvement. And so you want to be very deliberate with how you're going about this. And the way to start with that is to journal. And I hate writing. I've never been a writer, anything like that. But for a 6 months period, I was doing microdosing LSD and psilocybin. And then I would take a couple of trips of DMT through my day. I would do this once a week for 6 months. And when I started applying a journal, my benefits just multiplied, because I would take some time and meditate before doing it, or maybe just after that I've taken my psychedelics. And something like the binaural beats that was mentioned by Matthew. It's like it helps me snap into a state of meditation to allow me to get into my mind without like my ego kind of pulling up random stuff. Quiet my mind and figure out what is it that I want. What is it that I'm trying to work on? Is it my patience? Is it my ego? Is it my insecurity? That was a big one for me, is my insecurity. I would be very quiet and only speak if I knew that it was something that everyone liked or was something I was into, because I couldn't be myself. So if you're planning on saying, hey, this looks like something I could work on myself, but I don't know how to do it, write down how much you're taking. Write down if you're taking other medication, if you ate today, what the weather is outside. Some people have even mentioned writing down the moon phase if you're into that sort of thing. But also, what is it that you're looking to get out of this this trip, if you will? And then when you're in it, bring all that stuff back up and then write it down. Because depending on what you're taking, your trip could be very fleeting, and you might have some epiphanies, but then you'll forget it within that same day. So I definitely would recommend journaling this stuff and making a record for yourself, because it allows you to actually also just like months later go back to it as well and see where you've gone. And then it looks like, Donna, do you have something to add?
Yeah, all those suggestions are really, really good. I don't know if I can improve on them, but if I may make a suggestion, is first of all, I love what Matthew said about the non-dualism of him in this earth and being a horticulturist and the organic way that he approached everything and the connection that he has with the earth. And you know what it is what I see people do, because I'm a guide and I'm not advertising. I don't take clients off this. I'm just saying I have a little bit of experience. And two things I like to recommend for people to do is read the Jim Fadiman's book, Psychedelic Explorer's Guide. It's got everything in it. I mean, on how to have an intentional trip. Exactly. It's right up on the screen, Johnny. Matthew has it. And the thing with having someone, a trusted friend, you don't necessarily have to hire a sitter, is to create a really safe environment for you to let go. You're taken care of. You don't have to think about anything except to journey and be in the journey. And I wanted to also say, Jim Fadiman is such a great resource. He's the author of that book, and he did a lot of resource on brain injury. So that is any kind of stroke, hemorrhage, anything that's happening in your brain. The only reason we don't have more answers for people with traumatic brain injury and strokes and any kind of seizure disorders is because most organizations do not bring that kind of participant into the fold to be part of the data. They only bring people that are quote unquote normal, so the people that have brain injury and are experiencing things that are challenging, just like being on the spectrum or being neurodivergent in any way, there's no place where they can go to get empirical data. It doesn't mean it doesn't work for you or anybody else, and that it doesn't exist. It's just that it's not out there. And like Alex said, this is citizen science. You have to write down everything, like he said on that day, how you're feeling, how much you took, what it did, what's your diet like? Are you meditating? Are you mindful? It's like all those things will help you have a better experience. And also, like Matthew mentioned early, is he starts slow and goes slow with medicine. And I think that's really important.
What I'll also add to that, John, is that it's really important to know that it shouldn't be anything that's rushed or anything that's pushed on you either too. I know some people in the community are like they're very eager to tell you to do certain things and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's about how much you're ready for it. And also you're just never going to be fully ready for it too. So just understand that, there is a little bit of anxiety or even, fear going into an experience, and that's okay. But if it's something where it's like, somebody's really kind of pushing you in that direction, just take a look at that. And it's just so widespread now. You know, you hear it in the news, you watch it on TV, it's all over social media and everything. So it's so enticing, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, maybe this is gonna work and all of this other stuff. But just really sit down with yourself and try to ask yourself if this is something that's worthwhile, something that's calling you, even with your past experiences, and and be open to learning from like what it's like to sweat from your kneecaps, like what is it trying to tell you, you know what I'm saying? Because even though that's a really bad trip, what you would consider a bad trip, for me and for other people, I'm saying I think that those are the most worthy of experiences, because those are the ones that are really telling you like there's something here for you to really for you to really learn. And it's hard to say that, and sometimes you need that one that guide, like Alex said and like Matthew said, I think is that's not going to say anything. That the best guides are the ones that just kind of, they're there and they just kind of make sure you don't trip and fall and crack your head or anything like that. But at the end of the day too, it's like somebody that you can reflect on some of those experiences without them trying to define it for you, but just kind of like, what happened? This is what I experienced and I don't know what to make of it. And also some of those experiences are meant for you and you alone, without you having to share with anybody. They're your secrets, you know what I mean? And it's hard for some people because you want to share it with everybody. But sometimes those things that you experience are meant for you and you alone.
Thank you.
Josh here. I got a question for Matthew. Hey, thanks for sharing your journey. Has psychedelics impacted your view on plant life and kind of the nutrients and vitamins that and the appreciation that you have for it? Do you feel like that's influenced your passion?
Oh yeah, for sure. Psychedelics, they gave me a glimpse into their world, if even that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm like really obsessed with roots, big roots, big fruits. I don't know if anybody grows out here, but you want to feed the soil, you don't want to feed the plant. To answer your question, absolutely.
That's killer. I love it. Big roots, big fruits. I dig it. Thanks.
Yeah, and that's the truth though. That like really is the truth. Like the bigger the roots, the bigger the fruits. And when you get a plant, you want to focus on getting the plant to establish roots first before you start bending and twisting and feeding it crazy stuff. But yeah, it's psychedelics. I don't know, man. It just puts you, it turns your world inside out and upside down, and shakes it up. And some things get clearer to you, and working with plants definitely was the case for me.
That's cool. Thanks.
Anything that you'd like to share before we close this off?
Bruno, man, everybody that can hear me, love you guys. You got this. We're gonna knock it out. We're gonna do great things, and we're not gonna do those great things with fear in our hearts. So
there you go.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day. Thank you.